Hello, everyone, and welcome to our town hall meeting today. Our guest speaker is Sharon Payne, who is known to some of you. Sharon, please forgive me for not reading your whole bio, which is really impressive, but I took some parts of it, which I will read for people. Sharon is a certified orientation and mobility instructor who has been teaching O&M skills for 4 decades. Sharon later graduated from Pennsylvania College of Optometry with a master's in low vision therapy, working under Dr. Richard Brilliant. Presently, Sharon divides her time between teaching clients for the state of Maryland with referrals from low vision practices and teaching in private practice. Her business, which is called Able Services, provides support to clients as they re-enter workforce, adopt foster children, and volunteer in a number of situations of their interests. Additionally, you can often find Sharon providing in-service trainings. Today, we will be hearing about and discussing the definition of O&M, when to start, why it is useful, and what tools other than the cane can keep us safe and functional, preventing falls in the community. Sharon, I am personally very excited to listen to you today. The mic is yours.
Thank you so much for that, Tara. So I'm hoping everyone can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Okay, good. As Tara said, my name is Sharon, and one of the ways I like to begin anything about orientation and mobility or about rehabilitation is with a riddle. So we all know that doing things like pouring oil, 2 tablespoons of oil into a Betty Crocker recipe is one of the first things that becomes frustrating. The bottle is clear, the oil is clear, the spoon is very small, and the counter is just more than ready to let things slide off and get on the floor and make a mess. And so what is an easy way to do that? What is an easy way to measure 2 small tablespoons of oil if you don't see well? And it has to do with orientation and mobility. How? Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you after the joke. So once upon a time, as all good stories must start, there was someone walking to school over a bridge. And here in Maryland and the DC area, we know these old bridges were not meant for 18-wheelers. And so the 18-wheeler gets stuck under the bridge. It won't move forward and it won't move backwards. It is just stuck under the bridge. How are they going to get it out? And the answer to that is orientation and mobility related in a very significant way. Now, the owner of the truck comes and says, "What have you done to my truck?" And the historical society person comes and says, "What have you done to our bridge?" And the driver of the truck is shaking his head back and forth. And the child looks down from the top of the bridge and says, "Why don't you just? Why don't you just?" Those of you who have cameras on, raise your hand if you know, why don't you just? There you go. Some people have got it. David or Rosemary, you want to tell us?
Let the air out of the tires?
Just let the air out of the tires. So sometimes blindness or low vision gets us stuck somewhere. We can't move forward. We can't move backwards. We are stuck at home, stuck in a situation, stuck not going somewhere we want to go or doing something we want to do, and we're stuck. And the answer is sometimes nowhere near the top of the bridge where we're stuck. We are not stuck, right? We are not going to find an answer where we're stuck. So what's the answer? The answer is let the air out of the tires. Thank you, Rosemary, for that. Okay, we have to let the air out of the tires. What we have to do is we have to make it easier to pull on through or to back up and go a different way, right? Now, let's go back to that oil. If we think of pouring that bottle of oil into that little tablespoon, we're going to get stuck again. But what if I told you that the answer to many, many problems of pouring and measuring, it has nothing to do with pouring the oil, pouring the laundry soap, pouring a whole bunch of different things, sugar, flour, anything. The answer is to scoop. If we take that oil and we put it in a butter container or a cottage cheese container, or whatever container you have at home, and you take your tablespoon and you scoop it once and pour that in the bowl, scoop it again, pour it in the bowl, and now you've got the answer. So the answer was not in that big bottle of oil. The answer wasn't in the cake mix. The answer wasn't in even seeing better. What if you can't see any better? But simply scooping changes our ability to measure oil, to measure flour. Some people even do that with their toothpaste. They open up the side of the toothpaste container, put it somewhere, and scoop with their toothbrush right out what they need. So no matter what the living experience is, we want to make sure that we're using the right skills and the right technology. So I call that techniques and technology. We need to have a toothbrush to brush our teeth, and then we need a technique for not making a mess with the toothpaste. And whether that's scooping, which works really, really well, whether it's putting it on our finger, whether it's squirting it in our mouth, it doesn't matter. The idea is for us to be able to do what we want to do independently in the community. So now we go on to what is orientation and mobility. Has anyone here had O&M? Can anybody give me a concise answer to that? What is orientation and mobility all about? Sandy.
Okay, so it's learning how to use various senses, well, planning where you want to go and using a variety of senses to get you there safely.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Thank you, Sandy. That was great. Okay, so when we talk about orientation, orientation is knowing where you are, where you want to get to, and how you're going to get from here to there. And then mobility is moving from here to there. Now, my in-laws work in England and live in England, and I can promise you, I have never walked to visit them. On the other hand, I have never taken a plane or a helicopter to the local grocery store. So it really depends on how do I want to get from here to there? How do I know where here is and where there is, and what are the steps to do that safely, effectively, efficiently, but mostly gracefully? I want to feel like I know what I'm doing. When I walk down the street, I want people to look at me and say, wow, look at her go. Not, is she going to be okay? Is she all right walking down like that? So we want people to feel that confidence that gives them the ability to travel safely and gracefully. How does that come? Well, there are a number of different things that are included in that. One, we have physical strength. Some people walk just with their feet. Some people use a cane. Some people use a walker. Some people use a wheelchair. There are at least 2 people I know that travel the metro rail in the DC area with a cane in their electric wheelchairs. At least 2, because I've taught them. So, we can't put the limitations on ourselves, and we can't let those limitations stop us from doing what we want to do the way we want to do them. Now, mobility orientation. How do we know where we are? Well, usually it's in relation to someplace else. It may be an address. It may be a part of our building. So some people that I teach orientation and mobility want to be able to get from their apartment or room to a dining room. And they have to stay oriented so they don't get lost in the lobby. They don't go to another room, but they get to where they want to go. They walk there. They might get some help to get there. They might use their cane to get there. They might use a support cane to get there. Some people use both a support cane and a long cane. The support cane, like the name says, offers support. A long cane is a probe. It replaces your eyes and tells you where there are things that are dangerous, where you can step up, where you step down, and what kinds of obstacles might be laying on the path in front of you. Now, the transition from good vision, what we call, average normal vision, right? 20/20 or somewhere thereabouts, to total blindness is not a yes, no. It's a long spectrum in the low vision field. Many people here have met our low vision specialists like Dr. Alibi, who have spoken at length, so I won't go there, into that field of low vision. How do we make things bigger, brighter, clearer? How do we bring things closer to us? So there are many, many different things that we can do in order to use low vision devices. But when it comes to moving, the techniques created by Dr. Hoover over 50 years ago are still some of the best, easiest, fastest ways for us to get from inside to outside and be able to move smoothly and safely. So long before we get to legal blindness, there's a question of driving. Well, I only drive to the corner. I only drive to the store. I only drive to this, that, and the other thing. And I passed the driving test. My vision is good enough to drive most of the time. So maybe I don't drive at night. Maybe I don't drive when it's really sunny. Let's look at the safety factors in driving. There are all kinds of what we call filters. Okay, some people call them sunglasses, but they're not only for the sun. And we can use these filters that block the sun from the top, from the sides, and with a color that matches what we need to both enhance the contrast in the environment. So some people use a yellow color. Some people use a reddish color. It depends on the different eye conditions that they might have. But once I put these glasses on, I am going to be cutting down at least some of the light that is available to my eyes. And that's going to be really important when it comes to things like macular degeneration and glaucoma, is we don't want too much light, but we need light. We need light to be able to see. We don't want to block out the light that we need in order to be able to safely travel. So those kinds of sunglasses are available through your low vision clinic. And I believe, Tara, you can correct me if I'm wrong, even maybe some of the low vision centers that POB has in different areas.
We have to show to people, but we don't sell.
You don't sell?
No,
Okay.
we have them to show.
You tell people where to get them?
Yes.
So there are hundreds and hundreds of different combinations. You want to look at a couple of different things with sunglasses, and that is you want to look at the color. Is it yellow that's good for you? Red, blue, gray, green, amber. There's so many different colors out there. And then you want to look at the tint. How much visible light is coming through those glasses? Do you like a very pale yellow, a medium yellow, or a darker yellow that blocks out almost half of the light that's available to you? But if it enhances the contrast, that still might be the best one for you. So we want to think about how do we see and how can we see better? So, and again, comes back to our low vision specialists who may talk about telescopes. They may do built-in telescopes that go on top of your glasses, into your glasses, screwed into your glasses, all different things, or ones that you wear instead of your glasses, like if you're just watching TV or just looking for a street sign or something like that. So there are many, many different things that are available to help us to see better when we're out in the environment. Second thing with the glasses, the sunglasses that you want to look at, after you've picked your color and your tint, the third thing is you want to pick out the frame. Again, you want the ability to block out the lights from the side. Most of the time, we're not walking right towards the sun. The sun is coming at us from some sort of angle. So we want to block the sun from the angles that we have. Okay, going back to physical. How many people here, well, I can't see all of you, a lot of you are on phones, but if you know how to raise your hand on the chat, tell me how many people here are involved in some sort of physical activity. If you have your camera on, it's easy, you just have to raise your hand, right? How many people are doing chair exercises, chair yoga, walking outside, walking the halls of your apartment, using a treadmill, right? All of those things are exercise. Good. Good. And those are going to help keep you strong, because sometimes you're going to lose your balance, right? And the question is, right, do you catch yourself or do you go down? And that's a really big question. And your strength in your upper legs and in your hips are going to, and in your core, of course, are going to be really important for you to keep that. If you're a member of AARP, you can get all kinds of free exercises just by going to the AARP website and signing in and look for exercises. Find something that you like, put on some music that you like and just dance around your apartment. If you're sitting in a chair and that's about the best you can do for today, good. So move your legs and just, walk in place in your chair or holding on to the back of your chair, whatever works for you. Now, another really good place to find exercises is the ACB community. ACB is the American Council of the Blind. And if you go online, which I guess most of you have done to get here, if you go online and find the American Council of the Blind, they have about 100 different groups and classes that meet every week. And ACB community has a listing of support groups and different kinds of languages and Bible study and things like that, but they also have audio described exercises. So it doesn't say do your arm like this, but it might say lift your arm over your head straight up and down. So you're not trying to figure out or look at something and squint at your screen and repeat it, but you're actually just following the spoken instructions. And that can be very helpful for people that have a hard time being able to see what people are doing. And of course, like I said, dancing, just turn on the music and dance or join one of their groups can be very helpful for that. So now we've talked a little bit about when your vision starts to go down. And then comes the difficult point, right? When do you give up driving? That's a really big issue. When do you give up driving? So some people give up driving first. I don't drive at night. I don't drive when it's raining. I don't drive when it's this or when it's that. The important thing to remember is that there are people like yourself who don't see well or see less or see nothing, who are out there with orientation and mobility skills. They're not going to be able to get out of your way. Young children cannot get out of your way if they're chasing a ball into the street. So things around us change even if you've driven the same road over and over and over again. I don't tell people when not to drive, but think about it, not just for your own safety, right? Oh, I won't hit anything. I can see the poles, I can see the street. But think about the safety of others who are vulnerable. If you have a deaf person crossing the street, they won't hear you if you beep your horn because you got too close. So be very, very conscious of that. So the next step is, what do we do next? We're not legally blind, but we're not fully sighted. So giving up parts of the driving, we either stay home, we go with family, we go with friends, or we use some sort of transportation. Now you're getting into my field, right? So what choices do we have? We have choices like buses. We have choices like door-to-door travel services. We have nowadays Uber, Lyft, GoGo Grandparent, which helps you. So if you're not really tech savvy, all right, using something like GoGo Grandparent where they make the appointments for you can be very, very helpful. All right, it could be that where you've retired has transportation, and there might be a volunteer neighborhood shuttle or services available to you. Now, if you live directly in the Washington-WMATA area, you also have the paratransit that goes along with that, called Metro Access. There are passes to use so that you can ride the buses, sometimes for free, and that's very helpful as well, including your aid. So if you take somebody, a friend or a grandchild with you, you have them to help you traveling. If you want to learn how to use the Metro with reduced vision, you can get orientation and mobility training through the state or through one of the local nonprofits. It depends on where you're living. Or you can actually call WMATA themselves, and they have trainers who will show you how to use the system. So luckily, most people who live within the DC area have used the Metro for a long time before. But if you haven't, if this is something new and you kind of live in the more further areas, remote areas from downtown, you can get training from WMATA themselves. They have travel trainers on staff that will help you to learn to use the system. Now, along with that is the new way mapping that they're putting in and the new meta glasses that people are talking about, which can be very, very helpful to give you additional information where things are actually located. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far on the things that I've spoken about so far? Finishing page 1, we'll go on to page 2. Any questions? Anybody want to raise their hand, or there's somebody in the chat, Tara? Hey, Chris Settle, hello. Okay, so that wasn't a question. Orientation and mobility is something that's been around for about more than 50 years. And the question becomes, what are the things that orientation and mobility teaches about, and how do we do it? So we start with indoor travel. We always start with indoor travel. Can you get around safely indoors? Whatever that might mean. It might be the stairs in your house. It might just be adding an extra light on your stairs, and that makes it good for now. It might be residential travel, traveling around in your neighborhood or a neighborhood that's where you want to be able to visit friends, visit your church, visit the things that are important to you, senior centers, things like that. If you work, obviously, that's going to be very important as well. Okay, somebody asked about the glasses. The Meta glasses, META, are new smart glasses, which are not designed specifically for blind people. Now, the drawback to that is they don't really have regular OCR technology, like for sitting down and reading the way the OrCam did, although you can access that. But these glasses that are much in meta right now, or beta testing, right? People are out there wearing them and trying, giving a lot of feedback to the company, allow you to be in a large room or outdoors and say to the glasses, what's around me? And so it might say a wall, a window, a person, a door. Oh, so the way that my head is facing, that's where the door is going to be in front of me. And obviously things at a distance can be difficult for us to identify if our vision isn't good. So the Meta glasses are kind of the new kid on the block. And I have great hopes that the company will continue to build them. The nice thing is you can go into a Target and check check in advance if that particular store carries them, but you can go into a Best Buy or a Target and try them on and see how they work. And they work with your smartphone to provide additional information. They can provide reading information. If you're going to Kennedy Center and you want to sit down and read the program, you can ask it, what's in front of me, read what's in front of me. And that's really nice because the information comes through the speakers on the sides of the glasses. Nobody else needs to know what you're hearing. If you go,
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Sharon, I just wanted to add that our tech talk yesterday, if those who have not seen it, was about the Meta glasses.
Wonderful.
And they can check it on our YouTube channel, and we will send out the replay this afternoon, so everybody can check it out.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah. Sharon, you might want to continue your explanation, and then we can go to the questions.
Okay, yeah. Sounds excellent. So one of the ways that people find out about Meta glasses and other new things that are coming out is to belong to one of the Facebook support groups. Not everybody's into Facebook, but if you are, there are some wonderful groups out there. Hadley has a group. Macular Degeneration has our Macular Degeneration Journey. Retinitis pigmentosa has a picture of layers of the retina, and that is a great group for people with RP. There's the Diabetic Retinopathy Support Group, the Worldwide Stargardt's Macular Degeneration Support Group, Glaucoma Support, and then of course Sam Seavey's Blind Life, which reviews all kinds of technology. So I'm just going to take about 2 more minutes to talk about why would we use the cane? Why wouldn't we use the cane? So the cane serves 2 purposes. 2 big purposes. One is to make sure that you don't trip and fall on something. It tells you what's there. It makes sure that you know that there's a flight of stairs in front of you, and allows you to travel safely through a space, even if you can't be looking in all the directions at once. So people leave things on the sidewalk or whatever. The cane protects you. The other thing it does is it lets people know that you have a vision problem. So when you say to somebody, where is the mustard, and it's on the shelf right next to you, but you didn't see it, right? They're like, it's right there, you know, like, what's wrong with you? You bump into things, bump into people, and if you're carrying the cane, most often they will apologize, but most people try to get out of the way of the cane. So it identifies to other people that you have a vision problem. And people say, well, you know, don't I look, you know, more like a victim? You know, people are going to come and get me, you know, if I use the cane. But the truth of the matter is, if you're standing up with your shoulders back and walking with a purpose, like you know where you're going and not afraid, you're going to be much less likely to be victimized than if you were looking down at your feet the whole time, right? So we don't want your shoulders slumped, your head down, you're moving real slowly. Well, I check the curb with my toes. Well, okay, but if you miss it, you're down. And we don't want that to happen at all. So the idea of the cane is really twofold. When do you know when you need a cane? Well, everyone in this group is an adult. So you get to ask yourself, when should I use the cane? I have a gentleman who I was teaching in his 80s down in Miami, and one day he came in after all his training, weeks and weeks of volunteering, and his hand was bleeding. And I said, oh my goodness, what happened to you, Joe? And he said, I fell on the steps of the Metro Rail. And I said, oh, that's awful. I said, where was your cane? I mean, a flight of stairs is not something a cane is usually going to miss. And he said, it was folded up in my hand. I said, well, maybe we'll go over it one day and see how you missed that. And he goes, no, don't give me any sympathy, Sharon. I said, well, why not? He says, well, because my cane was folded up. So, you know, it's up to you as adults. But when do you get the training? Get the training when it starts to get difficult, when it's harder to see at night, when it's harder to see when it's raining. If you get your cane training early, then it's like swimming, right? If you fall off the boat, you already have the skills. If you walk out one day and your cane is in your bag or your backpack or your briefcase or whatever you're carrying, and you're going to use your cane, if you need it, then when it gets dark, unexpected storm comes up, or just you have to go someplace you haven't been before and you want that little bit of extra help, you pull out the cane, you unfold it, and you say, away I go. But if you don't have the training and you don't have the cane and it gets dark out there, or you have to go to an unexpected place, whose birthday party are you going to miss that day? You know, you want to be able to go out with your friends, do what you want to do, go to the movies with audio description or the Kennedy Center or whatever, no matter how light or dark it is, no matter how blinding the sun might be that day, whatever it might be, you want to be able to continue what you want to do. But if you don't have the cane, you don't have the training, you don't have the choice. So we want to increase the contrast, increase our lighting at home. That's always a good idea. Increase our strength, all right? And get the training with the cane before you need it. Like falling into a lake, falling off the boat. If you know how to swim, then it becomes fun. If you don't, then it becomes really scary, and you're less likely to do those things the next time. So hopefully that has answered some of your questions. The last two things I wanted to show you is just for those of you who can still see, if you're looking through your camera at me, all right, the canes fold up into sections. When you get a cane, all right, you want to have a tip on it that you can actually use. Don't get those black rubber tips. I know it's the cheapest cane out there, but it's no good. And make sure you have an odd number of sections so that when you fold it, the tip that goes on the dirty ground is not on the same side as the grip where you're holding onto it, but the opposite end of your cane. So you can get canes 3 sections, 5 sections, 7 sections even. If you're using it all the time, you probably don't want 7 because they rattle a lot. But there's all different kinds of weights and types and cane tips. And the last time we talked about it at Friendship Heights, I think we went on for about an hour. And the last thing that people bring up sometimes is Braille. Do I need Braille for orientation and mobility? You don't need to be able to read a book, but if you can read the first 10 letters, you will be able to get onto any elevator, go to any doctor's office, be able to know if it's the ladies' room or the men's room that you're walking into at any restaurant. Okay, so basic Braille is really, really helpful to anybody that's going to be out there and traveling. So I think we've covered just about everything. The only other 2 things I left out are the Centers for Independent Living are in every county. If you're in Montgomery County, you have the Independence Now Center for Independent Living that can offer additional services and training, not in O&M, but other things that you might need as a person with a disability. Washington, D.C. has, well, it had before COVID 3. I think there are now 2 Centers for Independent Living. One's on Florida Avenue. And again, more information, more training is available out there. AARP, I don't have to tell you, you've probably all been getting monthly mailings and requests for membership. And at $12 or $14 for an entire year, you're in really good shape there. And I think that is all of page 2 on my list of things to try to touch on. So I am here to answer your questions, and I'm glad to hear what you would like to know more about in orientation and mobility.
Thank you, Sharon. The first question is from Chris in the chat. He says, can you speak about intermodal transportation, such as metro to walking or bus to rail transportation?
Chris, can you unmute yourself and be a little more specific?
Yes, ma'am. So one, I was surprised you remember my name is Payne. One of the things that, as I referenced as you were chatting, for me that was very empowering was recognizing my ability to continue to do day-to-day responsibilities with my family, my children. And my own instructor, Maria, was awesome in meeting realistic understandings of how I needed to shift my capacity of functioning, not being in the car. And so, again, I'm in a very walkable neighborhood other than the hills, and her empowering me to have the ability to navigate to my one mode of transportation, to a bus, to rail, to walking again, was very methodical. It took us some time, and I heard you talk independently about some of the spaces as, O&M begins and going from inside to outside. And a lot of it was about building my confidence and comfort. I thought that would be something that'd be very powerful. Just the intermodal going from one mode to the next and being methodical about it is what gave me, some comfort as I began to continue to live life. And I'm moving a lot more now than when we first met, Ms. Payne. So, Metro is my friend.
Great, wonderful, fantastic. So I think you just explained it all, Chris. The idea is that we don't want to be stuck in one mode of transportation necessarily. A lot of times I make the joke that if I'm going to go and if I'm going to travel to the grocery store, I can take a bus, I can take the rail, I can walk, I can take Metro Access. I can get there whenever I want to, but I want to make sure that I get home before the ice cream melts. So again, sometimes that's Uber, sometimes that's cab. You don't have to take an Uber both ways if the timing of when you get there is not important. Now, if you have a job interview, obviously that's different. If you have a job interview, please go there the day before and check it out, that there's not like a fountain that's turned off in the middle of the plaza and then the next day, it's turned on or whatever. Know what you're getting into and definitely try that. But right, confidence, Chris, is where it's at. If you have a cane and you have confidence, you have good techniques that are going to protect you, and you know from practice that they're going to protect you, you're in really good shape. Now, if you only learn to get around with your remaining vision, the minute that vision decreases due to weather, due to the electricity going off, due to whatever, you're going to be at a loss. If you only learn route travel, how to travel from this one place to another place, then you're going to perhaps be able to do that route. But I encourage you, work until you gain the confidence to be able to plan your own routes and get out and go wherever you want, whenever you want, because that's what orientation and mobility in the end is all about. Go, do what you want to do, live the life, whether it's working or volunteering or anything else. I'm really excited to say one of my former clients and it's something she's been working on for a couple of years since before COVID, just received a baby that she is now fostering. So she is pretty much totally blind, and it's taken her a couple of years to get through everybody saying she couldn't do it, but she's got the baby in the crib at the house, and they're both doing fantastically well. So do what you want to do, right? Orientation and mobility is not about me teaching you what you want to do. It's about her being able to go out and get diapers or ordering them online, as that might be.
Sandy, I think there's Sandy.
Yeah.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, how are you, Sharon? So I wanted to piggyback onto that, learning multiple modes of transportation and, planning your route. And I would also say, eventually build your confidence that when for some reason the bus route, a bus breaks down and you have to wait for the next bus, or you're talking to your friend on Metro, like Tara and I were talking one time, and we missed our stop, but we just laughed about it and got off, went up and over and down to the other side and went back the way we were supposed to be going. But, just to cut yourself some slack and remain calm if something goes astray. And your suggestion to plan ahead, going to a new place. I've done this a couple of times now when I had to go to a new place, go the day before, a couple days before, so I knew the lay of the land. And it always amazes me how much longer it takes me to find a new place the first time than the second time. So
Exactly. You create your landmarks and your clues, and you can work off of the sounds and things that are around you. And that's part of what orientation mobility teaches, using your other senses. Somebody said that right at the very, very beginning.
Sharon, there's another question about where to get white cane training in Montgomery County.
So if you are in the state of Maryland, a very good way to get started is to contact the Department of Rehabilitation Services. And DOORS, although it takes about sometimes 8 to 10 weeks to get through the process, it is a state agency, will provide you with an orientation and mobility instructor to help you get started. If you want further training, there are some places around that can help you. And certainly you can reach out to me and we can talk about what kinds of things you feel that you missed. But DOORS lets you write your adults. DOORS lets you write your goals. What do you want to be able to do? And sometimes you start with a certain number of goals. I want to be able to get down the street to the bakery. And then you pass the bus stop and say, well, where does that bus go? What else can I do? Where else can I go? I tell people too, this is a much, many of the people in this group are older, grandparent age. So I want you to think about something. If you want to go see the grandkids more often, right? For your children to come and get you after a day of work and then getting the kids from school and picking them up from after school and daycare and making dinner and all that, wow, it's a lot of stress. But what if you were to take some sort of door-to-door transportation right to them? What if you were to make dinner and bring it to them and spend all your time now with both your child and your grandchildren, because everybody can breathe? And then your child could take you home. Think about those kinds of things. Mixed transportation is really, really helpful if you think of it in a way of how it's helping you meet your goals. If your goal is to spend more time with your grandchildren, it's very easy to say, well, my daughter can't get here, she can't pick me up, there's no time. Well, turn it on its head, stop getting stuck at the bridge, and say, how do I get myself over there? How can I be useful? How can I be helpful? Things are exceedingly stressful right now for working parents. And if you can be helped to be part of the solution, rather than adding a stress on, that is going to help your kids immeasurably. So there's lots of ways of thinking of moving things around. If you're not old enough to be a grandparent, think of as a parent that you want to be, if you're moving someplace, please move someplace that you're on the transportation system. It can be metro, it can be just a bus route. If there's a bus that comes near where you want to move, you'll also have door-to-door transportation through metro, same hours that the bus runs, at least for now. But again, you've also got the private transportation system, and you've got mixing transportation. As Chris said, you can mix transportation means. You can take a bus to someplace, you can take a metro to someplace, and then take an Uber just the last 6 blocks where there's no sidewalk. Right? I know there's clients I have in Potomac. They do the reverse. They take an Uber or something to the metro, and they can go anywhere in the metro area, Virginia, DC, Maryland. It doesn't matter as long as it's on the metro transportation. So there are ways of mixing it together, and definitely going, as you said, Sandy, go the day before if it's a new route, a new place, and you want to be able to get there on time and without the stress. And if you can go on a Sunday, you may have to wait a little longer for the trains, but if you go on a Sunday before a work starts or before something other program starts, go the day before, find out what that area looks like. Find out, do you need your sunglasses and your cane, and are you carrying your bag? What do you need in order to feel more confident? Okay.
Sharon, we have 2 questions. They're not, related to our discussions today. One of them is, if you could just tell them which agency to go to. Which one of them is, how can I get housing? And the other one, is there an agency that can help me file for disability with Social Security? I know it's not within our discussion, but if you could just tell them.
Both of those, that's why I brought up the other agency. So both of those questions are well met by your Center for Independent Living. Centers for Independent Living will meet those kinds of needs for any kind of disability, any age from birth to death, with a lot of the different questions. So There's something called a benefits counselor. Your Centers for Independent Living have benefits counselors. They have a housing section. So if you want an agency to help you, those are the agencies I would start with. So again, if you're in Maryland, in the Montgomery County area, you're going to be contacting Independence Now or innow.org. If you're outside of that area, let Tara or me know where you're at, and we can find your Center for Independent Living or your CIL closer to you. If you're good at looking up things on Google, you can look up NCIL. That's the national listing for all the Centers for Independent Living across the country, the NCIL. So Virginia, I would have to look on the NCIL list myself. I don't know exactly where
it is in Arlington, and you can call us and we will help you find the numbers for them. Just call 301-951-4444 and we'll be happy to look up the numbers for you.
Tara, if I'm low vision, writing that quickly is going to be hard. Can we say that number one more time?
I'm writing it in the chat, 301-951-4444.
Excellent. Excellent.
I have low vision and I said it very quickly.
You did.
Sorry.
That's okay. So Rhonda, you were asking about DC. DC's Center for Independent Living, Tara can probably help you find it, is on Florida Avenue, not too far from Union Station. You take that bus that goes along 8th Street. It's not easy. I would prefer door-to-door transportation, but there's a great Center for Independent Living in the DC area. Virginia, I have to look at your county. So it's not a state agency. The CILs are county-wide. So whoever is Croft GL, let Tara know what county you're in, or contact me. Tara, can we put my email in there as well? s.payne@ableservices.org. You've got it because we've been emailing back and forth all week. But if you put that in there, I'm more than happy to help people to find it. If you want private orientation and mobility, I'm not a big salesperson, but I do private lessons as well for people, or just get people started with doors. I've had people who meet with me just one time, and I'm glad to help you get set up with the Talking Book Library system, with the door system, or actually do all of your training, whatever you need. So there are agencies like your Centers for Independent Living, and there are state agencies like Doors. Hello, Kelly. Kelly Blake is one of the counselors with Doors, and she is with us today as well. And it's great to have people here from the system who are listening in and further sharing the information.
Sharon, can you check the email I sent? Is it correct?
No.
No. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, nobody used that. Nobody used that email. How about if I put it in the chat?
Yeah, that would be easier. I'll delete it. Yeah.
Hang on one second. I'm not sure how to get it into there we go, chat. Nope, that just opens it and closed it. I totally lost it. But you know what? If you need to get my email, it's my name is Sharon, s.payne, Payne, at able, ABLE, services, services.org. Thanks, Kelly. Kelly typed it in for us. So
thank you, Kelly.
Yes, Doors counselors are exceedingly helpful, and you gotta love them. So are there any other questions that people have about orientation mobility, about canes, about transportation, alternatives, anything like that?
Can I ask Kelly? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Question. Can you hear me, first of all, because I've had trouble?
Yes, we can. We can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I wanted to share a problem. I was curious if other people have it, what they do about it. So in the last several months, I have had problems navigating and moving around because
Tara, I'm
Shiv,
having a little.
Shiv, we cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you
Yeah.
hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. So in my left eye, I need to explain the situation. In the left eye, I have a lot of atrophy, also partial macular hole, and the atrophy has started to grow in the last few months, and in the left eye. The right eye, I cannot read because I had a macular hole, which an unsuccessful surgery. So I've had many surgeries, but here is my problem now since a few months. Uh, when I navigate around objects, around people, so even at home or where there is a party or shopping or whatever, navigate moving around people, I tend to wobble. I tend to sway a little bit because of overturning. I feel a little bit out of balance. I think the problem may be growing, but I was curious. Of course, walking stick would be helpful, as you had suggested, as you have talked about. I do have walking sticks, but many times it's just not practical, or I'm not so used to it. So even uh, navigating around the house or daily activities, getting something or whatever, there is this little bit of feeling of out of balance or overturning or thing. So have you heard of this kind of a problem because of the one eye? It's the other eye. See, I'm able to generally see, but not read because of the macular problems.
Okay, thank you, Shiv. Let's see what Sharon will tell us about the balance, because I think many of us with low vision have the balance problem.
Yes, it's very common. So balance often is related to our vision and our hearing, our inner ear, the liquid in our inner ear, the bones in our inner ear, and how we see. And it's related to our core strength and our leg strength. So if we have regular vision, normal vision, I don't like any of those, average vision, we're going to look from where we're standing out into the distance. And we're going to be able to focus on something that helps us keep our vision, our balance, I'm sorry. When we're walking, we're not going to be afraid of missing a step up or a step down or an object that might be in our way. So we want to, and I started with this because it's so, so important, Shiv. I'm glad you brought it back up to end the conversation with, right? Strength is really important. Yes, a cane probably would help you, definitely in the house, out of the house, wherever it's good for you. Some people don't want to carry a cane around with them. So some people use a walker because then they can put things on a tray or on the seat and they can carry those things around with them. Some people prefer to install handrails. If you go to any assisted living or nursing home, you're going to find that there are rails or chair rails, right? Just decorative strips along the wall. So it's really important that it works. Again, it works for you, something that works for you, something that answers your way of needing to get around. I don't know if there are children or grandchildren in your house that leave things laying around, if it's, your own core strength that needs to be strengthened a little bit, but a support cane is very helpful. When you go outside, a long cane, again, it'll tell you where the stairs and things are located. More lighting. You can definitely add more lighting to your home if you have some remaining vision, especially with something like a macular hole. Additional lighting without glare. You don't want it bouncing off of all kinds of things, but a muted other additional lighting on or near the stairs or wherever it is that you feel like you're losing balance is going to, while your vision is what it is right now, is going to be helpful as well. So you have the outer things, adding light, adding chair rails, adding railings. You have things you can carry with you, whether it be a support cane or a walker, right? And then changing your own personal situation by strengthening your muscles using exercises, things like that. So all those things kind of come together. If you haven't seen a low vision specialist, you might want to see Dr. Alibi or one of the other low vision specialists in the community and talk to them about where your good vision is located, and they can sometimes help you with your glasses. I know one low vision specialist that I was pleased to work with made a pair of upside down glasses for somebody. That person, instead of having bifocals with little tiny lenses at the bottom, that person sat at his computer all day. But when he put on his reading glasses, he couldn't see if his boss came to the door or if it was someone else. And so the doctor made him a pair of reverse bifocals with just a little bit of distance at the top and the reading glass as the major lens, as the carrier. So there are all kinds of things out there, prisms that might bring your two good areas of vision together, might help you visually. A support cane or walker used in the house, strengthening yourself. So a little bit of getting thrown off balance could also be helpful to you in not feeling like you're going to fall.
Any other questions or comments anyone has? Well, Sharon, this was amazing. And it's a reminder for all of us. We always say we are careful and we will not fall, but we always have to remember that no matter how careful we are, we need to be more careful, no matter what.
Yeah, even people with good vision occasionally lose their balance because they step down into a driveway or a hole that they didn't see or whatever. It's not always about the vision. But the question is, how well and how quickly can you catch yourself? Do you need can your own body do that with your core strength and your leg strength? Do you need a support cane? Do you need a walker? And you don't have to use anything all of the time. You pick you're adults. You pick the right time and the right place to do the things that are right for you. That's the most important thing. And hopefully the thing that's right for you is the thing that will keep you safe and mobile and out there and enjoying life. So thank you for having me, Tara.
Thank you very much. And this session is being recorded and it will be on our YouTube channel this afternoon. Thank you so much again, Sharon. And thank you everyone for joining us today.